Hello and welcome to the Last of Us podcast.
Yeah, hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
No, I'm not asking you.
Shit.
I'm asking the people who can't respond on the YouTube.
Sorry.
There will be a little annotation that says yes or no to my question, even though those aren't appropriate responses to my question. How are you? Yes! So, both of us, I should probably introduce you.
No, I don't need an introduction. I'm here, and I watched Bob play The Last of Us. That's all you need to know.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
For those who do not know, this is Refmo. She has her own channel on the YouTube.
Don't go to it. It's bad.
Is it bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't tell. I thought it was pretty good.
I'm just gonna admit it. Fuck it. Whatever.
Just admit your faults.
I'll try again one day. Maybe.
Maybe.
It's been 10 months, so probably not.
And yet you keep getting subs.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, huh? You just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We played a game.
Yep. Well, you played. I watched.
The Last of Us.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to do in this podcast, first off, we're going to say straight up, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of fucking spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
We do not care. This is spoiler cast. I'm going to put like a bunch of warnings up on the freaking screen right now where they're all like, oh my god, don't fucking watch. Yeah. If you don't want to get spoiled.
Yeah. If you don't, because it's not like we're going to talk and then go, oh, spoiler, don't let, I mean, we're just going to like, free talk, flow talk, whatever you want to call it.
Flow talk.
So, yeah.
This is flow talk.
Sorry.
This is Flowcast.
I could come up with a word. So, if you haven't played the fucking game and you don't want to spoil yourself, here's a fucking clue. There's an X button on top of your fucking screen. Click it, because it's just gonna be a lot of spoilers.
No, that'll close their whole fucking browser.
Oh, don't close the whole browser. Close a tab, or just go fucking watch another video. Whatever, just spoilers.
I have a question for people who opened this and did not expect spoilers. What were you thinking? Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the people that follow you are, some of them are intelligent, so I think they'll know.
I would fucking hope so. So, we're going to talk about The Last of Us and our thoughts and ideas on it. Yeah. So, we got the special edition. I think it's called the Survival Edition. It's over here, sitting on the table.
And I told you that if you bought it, I remember saying, I don't think it's going to be that good. I don't think it's going to be that good. I guess I kind of have to eat my words, I don't know.
Nice.
I know, actually, I don't think it was worth how much you spent for that. I really don't.
How much do you think I spent for that?
I think you spent $90 on it, didn't you? Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. If you, like the artwork and you think that's worth the money, then it's worth the money.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of what I think.
Here, this is what I liken it to. I spent way too much money on the Diablo 3 friggin' battle chest or whatever the hell that was, the collector's edition with all that stupid shit in it. Yeah. I had like a friggin' Diablo head on a friggin' USB drive, and I was like, what? Why do I have this? I don't even have a place to put this, and it looks dumb, and it keeps hurting me when I touch it. And so, and the game itself was not that great. It was pretty awful. It was pretty like the epitome of awful. Basically, whenever I see it, it fills me with dread. And that's why it's in our closet, just sitting there collecting dust. It's basically a Goofus Gallant situation, where you have Goofus holding like the Diablo 3 collector's set, and then you have Gallant holding this beautiful Last of Us Survival Edition collector's edition set thing.
But, Diablo was shitty. You can buy a game that's just $60 or $50 or whatever and have it be just as good.
Oh, yeah.
As The Last of Us.
And I must say this, for the money I spent on this thing, I didn't get as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
A lot of it was digital, and I was kind of disappointed that I did not get a physical copy of the soundtrack. Which is something that's funny because this is coming from a person who loves the Silent Hill series, and Silent Hill 3 came with, like, just basic. You spent the money on the game and you automatically got the soundtrack with the game. Like, you opened it up, and it wasn't like one of those situations like Twisted Metal 3. I think it was Twisted Metal 3, where on one side it was like the game, but if you flipped it around, it was the Rob Zombie soundtrack. It was like, you're making the funniest face right now.
Rob fucking Zombie.
I love Rob Zombie. What are you talking about? I love him.
Oh, you're being that sarcasm. I didn't see it oozing. My bad.
It was just, it was a separate disc, and it was a separate CD. for Silent Hill 3. And, which is funny because that's a whole other thing. I did not like Mary Elizabeth McGlynn on that, but that's a whole other thing. So we got this, and to be honest, I loaded it up on my PlayStation 3, and I started downloading all the stuff, and the vast majority of the bonuses that come with this game are digital. Mm-hmm. And then it had the digital soundtrack, so I was just sitting there for like an hour waiting for all this stuff to download. And, you know, the only thing I had to do really, since I didn't want to spoil myself with the art book, was to just read the comic. And the comic, American Dreams #1 wasn't that great. It was drawn really good. Mm-hmm. But the plot, the character development was just like stereotypical. Like it reminded me of an anime.
Are they gonna continue the comic?
I think they've finished it. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure they have 5 issues and they're all done. They might be doing more. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely they have more than just this one. Because this one ends in like a friggin' cliffhanger, and it's a really silly cliffhanger. And the whole idea is they're telling the story of Ellie before The Last of Us, because The Last of Us begins, and it kind of centers around Joel, whereas this comic is more about Ellie. It's all about Ellie, actually. So, and it details what happened before, and I think after, a little bit after she got bit. So, yeah, spoilers. I'm making a duck face. Probably the coolest thing about the collector's edition was the steelbook copy of the game. I really like the design of the actual thing that the game came in, the case.
Okay.
It's nice and steel and cold when you pick it up. It's rad. But yeah, I mean, in terms of comparing that to like the Diablo collector's edition. That thing came with everything. That had like behind the scenes stuff, behind the scenes DVDs, behind the scenes Blu-rays, like tons of material. Another art book, just like Last of Us, and it came with that USB drive, which is kind of silly, but it had the Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 expansion pack on the USB, which is mainly the reason why I got that, because I lost those keys and I couldn't play it anymore. And Diablo 2 is really fun. So it came with all that stuff and the soundtrack, the physical soundtrack, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because I remember burning it and ripping it rather. And yeah, but the game itself, it's a testament to like quality of the freaking game. It's like you spend all that money on frivolous nonsense and then whatever. I don't know how they're.
I'm not gonna. I see what you're saying. I don't know if I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's a testament because. You've had other games. I mean, they just, I don't. They tend to shaft people lately. Well, not all games. Like you buy a collector's edition, and I just remember like years ago, kind of getting more. But people were complaining that they didn't need the disc. They don't need discs anymore. They just want to get their music digitally. So
that's true.
I could understand why they didn't put it on a disc, but. I mean, I think that people buy a collector's edition to, like, stick it on their shelf or to be able to physically touch it. So, why not stick it on a disc for those people anyway? But whatever.
Yeah, makes sense.
It doesn't matter because I'm not going to fucking listen to it anyway.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it?
What, the Diablo 3 soundtrack?
No, the Last of Us soundtrack.
I have. I actually have. And a few of the songs are really good. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but... There are a few that I was listening to it while I was editing one day, and they were. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's very ambient. Lots of really nice tracks, but really, I mean, there weren't as many as I thought. Like as many good stuff. But then again, I'm spoiled. Silent Hill 2 soundtrack, best soundtrack of any game ever, in my opinion. I should qualify that. Sorry. What do you sound for?
Nothing.
Talking about Silent Hill again? You're all upset because I constantly talk about Silent Hill. I know it's a problem. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's just like it's weird. Well, first of all, we should not even be talking about this now because this podcast has actually turned into, instead of like The Last of Us, it's turned into just like a conglomerate of shit.
Well, we're gonna cut out the stuff that.
Okay.
So don't worry.
So let's just skip what we were heading towards, and let's go to the meat of the fucking the game. I guess what are your thoughts of
My thoughts.
What do you feel now that you've played it? You told me you thought it was the best game you've ever played on the PS3.
Yes.
And you still feel that way.
Yes.
I mean, you just told me that a couple days ago.
Yes.
So
Let me think. Let me think of all the games that I've played on the PS3. Plants vs Zombies. Peggle. Yep, best game I've ever played on the PlayStation 3.
You know what? So, your PS3, the only game, thanks, Car, that I've played was about an hour of Final Fantasy 13. So I'm just gonna go based off the
Testament to the
games
quality
that
of that
I've
game.
watched you play, because I've watched you play more games on that PS3 than I've definitely
Because you
touched.
have a problem playing games.
No, that's not true. My head is so far up the MMO genre's ass that it can't get the fuck out and play a regular console game. That's the problem.
Mhm.
I still play games. Just yeah. So the best game. This is not the best game that I've watched you play.
Okay. What is the best game that you have watched me play?
Resident Evil 6 demo. Straight up,
Are
nothing's
you
gonna fucking beat
kidding
it.
me?
I'm sorry.
Are you
I'm
fucking-
sorry.
The best game you've ever seen me play is a fucking demo.
Dude.
Have you read the freaking reviews for that game? Like,
Whoa.
oh,
I don't need to read any reviews. This is what I know. I
Okay.
watched you play that fucking demo, and I fucking loved it
okay.
to the point where I wanted to
Okay.
play it.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Because if there's one thing to say about Resident Evil, what was it? 6?
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was.
Yeah, I mean,
we
maybe
had
for
a
the
fun
wrong
time.
reasons,
Exactly.
but-
It's a freaking horror game and it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Same problem with freaking Homecoming,
Exactly.
but whatever.
And that, of course, isn't to say that Resident Evil 6 is a better game. It's not, obviously. Just that I enjoyed watching you play that more, to the point where I wanted to play it, whereas I watched you play Last of Us, and I mean, it's really story-oriented, so if I'm watching
Oh, yeah.
somebody else play, like my brother and sister, I didn't touch any of the Metal Gear Solid games because, that's really story-oriented as
Mhm.
well, and they would play it, so I'm like watching a movie and I don't need to play it. I'm done, like you did my job for me. But yeah, so I didn't feel like I needed to play The Last of Us because I watched you play it.
And it should be noted that probably the reason that you liked playing the Resident Evil 6 demo the most was because you weren't just watching it, you were also playing it. That's
yeah,
a co-op.
that's true, but
So-
I did watch you at first, and then I wanted to play.
That's true. And it should be noted that one of the reasons that you liked that game so much was because I was rolling around like an idiot the entire time.
Yes, that's true.
Getting us killed.
It's true. It was amazing. I'm sorry.
The zombies
I
didn't
loved it.
care. I was like rolling into them, and they were just like, whatever. Guys rolling around on the ground.
It seems like you can play that way the whole game, and that excites the shit out of me, so much so that I actually want to drop $60 so I can sit here and just like slide and roll,
Right.
or the whole fucking game. Like, it's amazing.
That would be an accomplishment. But anyway. So yeah, we should probably talk about the game.
Yeah, we really should.
What did you think of the game overall?
Overall, I thought it was good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
See, I think it was probably one of the best experiences I've had playing a game. And let me say this. No, let me follow that up with this. Probably the only other game that I had as much fun playing was Silent Hill 2. And that's purely because of the atmosphere it creates and the world it creates and how I fall into that world. And The Last of Us had such a realistic take on a major sort of zombie-esque infection. And right from the get-go, I love this. I love that they did this. Right at the get-go, they introduce all of the characters in a really interesting way. They don't have like a sort of a bullshit intro. They have a very interesting intro that really, it reminded me of Up, purely in the amount of emotion that they got you to feel within the first few
Are
minutes
you
of the game.
talking about when his fucking kid died?
Yeah.
Like, here's the deal. I wasn't watching you, I heard it. And I remember saying, and you couldn't hear me, but I remember saying, really? That's how they're going to start it out? I'm going to disagree with you because the thing is with that intro, that you could have completely fucking removed it and still had the same interaction between Joel and Ellie. The fucking same thing. I thought it was over the top. It was just like, oh, let's have some emotion here. Let's pound it in. He had a kid. Like, you didn't. It wasn't needed. And I actually said that to you, but you didn't hear me because like the TV was so loud.
I think I remember you were like standing in the.
I was sitting, but you're close. I was sitting at my computer.
Standing or sitting.
And I bent over and I was like, oh, they're gonna start with that shit. Okay. And you're like, what? And I was like, oh, they're gonna start with that shit. And you're like, what? And I'm like, fuck it, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I think that from what I didn't watch it. I'm glad I didn't. Just from what I heard, I thought that was one of the weaker points, to be honest.
Well, maybe it's different for me because I was actually playing it and I was actually like invested in the characters, invested in the events right from the get-go. The character development right at the start was really nice. It was really genuine is probably the way that I would describe the voice acting in this game. And right from the start, they had some really nice character moments where it was just Joel and his daughter sort of joshing around on the couch. You imagine you would do with your parent on any given Sunday or whatever day it was. I don't know. But it was really, it just smacked of sort of like, you know what you're getting into. You know what's going to happen. And it's just a matter of how they get to that point. And I have to disagree with you on taking that scene and taking that whole beginning scene out. Because not only does it establish who Joel was before all of this stuff happens and gives you an idea without any character coming out and sort of, show, don't tell.
But it didn't. That whole setup was exposition. And I'm saying that you didn't need it. I didn't watch you.
Okay.
I came in late when basically the girl had dropped or given Ellie away and was like, I can't, like, here, you need to escort the bitch to whatever the fuck she needs to get. Right. And I'd gotten a very good glimpse of Joel and who he is and his past by not watching that trope-ass shit where another kid, female kid dies just for some emotion.
I must admit that it was manipulative. But then again, that's how you tell a story. You got to manipulate people. You got to get them to feel how you want them to feel. And for me, I'm just going to say it.
Well, you can do that with solid writing, not forcing a scene that isn't needed down someone's throat.
I'm just going to put this out on the table. This table. Okay, I put it down on the table. The voice acting for that made it. Like, when Joel's daughter gets shot and she's dying, and her voice acting is just like, it got me. Like, I actually felt really bad, and I'm pretty sure I said out loud, "Oh no," or something along those lines. I don't know if you heard me because it was low, but it was one of those things where it was just like, "Oh Jesus, oh man, that's fucking terrible." But as soon as Joel rolled down the hill without I can't remember his daughter's name. That's really bad because she's a major character.
No, she isn't. That's
no,
my
she
point.
really is.
She isn't.
She's a parallel for Ellie, for Joel. It's like...
But there wasn't one needed. She's not a fucking major character. It was just a setup for Ellie, but she wasn't needed. She wasn't needed to make a setup for Ellie. Wrong. Fuck you. I'm kidding.
But, how do you think it should have been done? Would you just take that part out?
I think they could have just cut it the fuck out. I really do. They could have just started off in the present time before they meet Ellie. It seemed like he was, because that's the other part I missed. He was with what was her name, like Sherry or Sharon or something? Is that the woman who dies? Who's helping Joel escort Ellie?
Tess is the woman.
Tess. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I came in at the part where Tess and Joel are given Ellie. Yeah. But I seem to remember there being some sort of stuff that happened. Basically, what I'm saying is that past clip that they showed, they could have just started from the present. They could have just taken the past clip.
Okay. It's interesting because in terms of a zombie apocalypse story, which, let's be frank, this is. Yeah. Cordyceps is essentially, zombieism. And it should be noted that real life cordyceps does not work in the way that it does in The Last of Us.
You sure?
Tightened.
You sure about that?
It's just fun to like, because I watched that freaking Planet Earth before all this stuff came out, and I was talking to people about cordyceps and how freaking cool it was. And then all of a sudden, Last of Us comes out, and it's like, holy shit, have you seen this? And it's literally just the clip from Planet Earth. And I'm like, holy crap, I have! That's cool! And then they make a game about it, and it's rad. But, no, cordyceps is just a fungus that goes inside, ants' brains. And it's cool because there's a strain of cordyceps for each, like, freaking ant, like, each species of ant. And it always gets them to do the same basic stuff. Once an ant is infected, it basically causes the ant to freak out, and then it essentially takes control of their brain. But the coolest part is how the ants react, and that's one of the things that they didn't really cover in The Last of Us, but not that they would. The ants, like, sort of, they can tell. They can sense that there's something horribly wrong with this ant, and because, it's happened before, they've reacted to it in such a way now that as soon as one of the ants starts showing these symptoms, they grab the ant, take it as far away from the nest as possible, and just drop it off. And then they go away. And then the ant basically freaks out, and then the fungus essentially takes control of its brain, theoretically. I don't know if that's actually, like, a thing. And it tells the ant to climb. Just climb. And it climbs as far as it can up to the nearest object, like a tree or something. And as it climbs, that's when, when it gets to a certain point, it dies. It's always random. And as soon as it dies, the fungus erupts from its head and just sprouts. And then it explodes after a while and releases all these other spores that infect other ants. And that's how cordyceps works. So it's a really interesting concept.
That's crazy scary.
Yeah, it is, because especially in the Planet Earth, they played up this whole idea that they even talked about it in The Last of Us, some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, where the development team was kind of interested in the idea that, especially on Planet Earth, they played this up as like, any species of ants that gets too big for its britches basically gets a cordyceps virus outbreak, and that culls the herd. So the idea,
I see. Okay,
yeah.
I see
So it's like
that's
humans,
cool.
and they're like,
Cool.
yeah. And so that's the basic concept. But yeah, I mean, you can't say that it's not zombieism though, because it's like it friggin' is. They're running around biting people. They get infected with the fungus, and then they go around and they erupt and spread the virus that way. It's just like a realistic version of zombieism. But I say realistic, even though I quantify that by saying, no, it's not realistic. Anyway, talking about this too much. Basically, cordyceps equals cool. And interesting idea for zombie-inspired apocalypse scenario. Mm-hmm. And here's where I was getting with that. Most zombie films start from, like, present day, before the infection. And then they extend through the infection. And then they go past the infection. So it's sort of like a tale of, in order to show people how these people were before the infection.
Did you say most zombie films?
Yeah.
Because, I don't remember any like that. I mean, normally you have a zombie movie and it starts really, the outbreak is right at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So, I mean, there is no, like, life.
That's what I'm saying. No, it does. I've got a few examples in my head. One of them is the remake of, what was it called? Land of the Dead? No. Dawn of the Dead? No. Fuck, what is it? The Romero remake. That was like, had the, spoiler, spoiler to movie you do not know yet. Watch out! Spoiler, could be for anything. It was for, it had the zombie baby. With the zombie woman who was pregnant with a zombie baby, and he took the guy took.
You mean the one where they're in the mall?
Yes.
Oh, that
what was that called?
Movie.
God damn it!
I don't know. It was fucking stupid.
I want to say it's Dawn of the Dead.
I think so.
But yeah, that you remember how that movie started out, where it was like, oh, I've got a family. Oh, I've got a husband. Oh, what's going on?
Well, yeah, there's a little intro to the family,
yeah.
But I mean, there's no like. What I got from what you're saying is they have like 30 fucking minutes of like what it's like before the outbreak, and then like they have.
Oh no! It wasn't like 30 minutes. It was just like a little hint, a little sprinkle of what it was like. And same thing happened in the Resident Evil movie, where it was like a little sprinkle of what life was like before, and then
that ain't no fucking zombie movie. I don't know what that's shit.
So, shit is its own genre.
Like even. Well, yeah, I mean,
and it's such a distinct genre that it overrides any other genre.
Yeah.
D-War, shit.
I don't even remember there being
Not
any
an
fucking
action
zombies.
movie. Just shit. It's a shit movie.
I remember like Kung Fu and like the fucking what's her face, the bitch with no tits who was in Fifth Element and Dog.
It's funny because as soon as you said bitch with no tits, I knew Mila Jovovich.
Oh my! And you know what? I don't want to say that. I mean, it's just that if you don't know the name of somebody, you gotta do like a physical appearance. And I mean, like the first. Okay, if I say bitch with no tits, okay, you just prove that you know what I'm talking about.
This is Refmo.
Sorry, bitch with no tits. I forgot your name. I forgot your name. You ain't got no titties. It's not a big deal though. I still love you. I mean, I don't love you, but I thought you were good in the Fifth Element. Or whatever.
You really quantified that.
Even with that orange ass fucking hair. But you're sucking everything the fuck else.
You mean she wasn't good in Tomb Raider?
She wasn't in fucking Tomb Raider.
Who was that? I'm gonna look that up.
That's fucking Angelina Jolie.
I am so sexist.
And Angelina Jolie has big fat fucking like boobs.
That is like the exact opposite. That is funny that my brain did that. It was like black and friggin' white.
Oh no, she was in that one movie, that latest fucking Musketeer movie.
Oh,
she was
right.
doing more kung fu shit in there, like flipping and twirling with that heavy 100-pound dress and shit.
I know what I was thinking.
Oh, I actually forgot that movie. Fuck.
Resident Evil. God damn it.
Where
Because
was
the
that?
video game movies. Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
She's in Resident Evil, right?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Okay, okay. God, my brain is ridiculous. All right, we've gotten really off track. So what I was basically saying is that most zombie apocalypse movies try to establish what life was like before, just because it's an interesting human element. It's an interesting character development element to have, sort of parallel what we're all going through in daily life, and then having it all upended. And I'll say this, the World War Z started off the same way.
Yeah, but those are in there because they want to show us the people experiencing the outbreak.
Exactly.
Not to give us that human element. We don't need that. We experience life every day. But they want us to, as a viewer, experience
and relate
the outbreak instead of us missing it by skipping ahead, like in 28 fucking years later, whatever the sequel, the name of that fucking movie is. Yeah, years, whatever. I don't give a shit.
28 years later.
What was it? The first
That's
one was
gonna be the next
28 days, and then what was it, 28 weeks or some shit? Okay, whatever.
And so the next one
I don't
is
care.
28 months, and then 28 years.
28 years later, nobody gives a shit. It's fucking been 3 decades. Whatever. If y'all didn't cure that shit, fuck it, I'm done.
It should be 28 years later, and then it's just all new characters, and the zombie outbreak is over, and it's just like rom-com.
Oh, that's actually a fucking solid idea. I'd watch it.
That was a high five.
Yep.
And one of the... I want to say that one of the biggest... Well, not one of the biggest. One reference that The Last of Us used, that I feel they used, was... what is the name of it? Book. Also movie. Damn it.
Jurassic Park?
Yes, they did reference that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I blame no one but myself. The Road.
The Road.
Cormac McCarthy, The Road. That's what I was talking about. And, I was talking to people on Twitter about this, and they were saying, I don't know when The Road came out. I didn't read it when it first came out. I heard that it was heavily referenced in The Last of Us, and that they used it for certain references. They referenced it. And I read it, and sure enough, I saw tons of references.
You know fucking reference. That's just straight up stealing a good idea and sticking it in your game.
But that's the thing. I was talking to people on Twitter, and they were like, look, it's not really a reference. It's just The Road is basically the same genre. It's the same type. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to say. And I think The Road came out pretty... It was really influential on the whole series, on the whole genre. Mm-hmm. After reading it, I can totally agree. I mean, they have a lot of really like little things that I was noticing since I had just read the book in Last of Us. One of the big things was I forget the food that they used. I think it was like canned peaches, and in the road, and that was like a big thing when they found some canned peaches, and that was like one of their nice foods to eat when the man and the boy were roaming the road. And in The Last of Us, they specifically call out a can of peaches. So I don't know if like I can't really tell if that's like a reference or if it's just like freaking canned peaches, because realistically that would be a good thing to eat after an apocalypse.
Have you eaten some fucking canned peaches? I mean, they taste amazing. I mean, they're like swimming in syrup for a fucking year by the time you get them off the store shelf. So I mean, yeah, it's like candy fucking peaches.
It's funny because they talk about that specifically, like the syrup in the road. Like they're actually drinking the syrup from the can. But
damn.
But yeah, I caught that. I don't know if I caught that. That's the thing. I just don't know. So there was that, and the road. The thing that I was going to say was the road basically starts off completely differently from the way that The Last of Us starts off. The road starts off well into the apocalypse, and basically it starts off too far, and at certain points in the story, Cormac McCarthy does like little flashbacks in the form of the man remembering stuff that had happened before, and little hints that as the boy talks to the man, trying to figure out what's up with certain things. But it's hard, and the thing is that they start off differently, and the road is a more I would consider that more traditional, but I don't know if that's because the road created the tradition, or if because it's just sort of the way things were before and after, or maybe the way that things I don't know. I have a bias. A lot of the zombie movies that I've seen, especially the ones lately, have had the same type of intro that The Last of Us had. But The Road sort of bucked that trend. And now we're getting this sort of blend of two worlds with The Last of Us, where you have both the immediate infection and what happens to Joel and his daughter right off the bat, right at the beginning. But then you have a major time shift to sort of people dealing with it 20 years into the thing. And I enjoyed it, mainly because it was just like a little taste of the traditional sort of apocalypse movie, and then to just completely go like way into the future and just sort of have things happening. Another example would be The Walking Dead, which freaking show. God, read the comic; it's much better.
Is it?
I said it's much better. I didn't say it's really great. The Walking Dead, the show right now, is just funny. It's just funny. I watch it to laugh at this point. So anyway, so that's how I feel. Then the game skips ahead 20 years, and you get old Joel. This is about where you came in. Mm-hmm. Tell me about how you felt about it.
Well, I mean, there's a part that I'm missing. I remember hearing like a fight or something going on, because when I started to come in and see was when you had Tessa, Joel, and Ellie, and Tess, my bad. Tess, Joel, and Ellie are talking. Yeah. So that's where I came in. But there's something in between there before that, I mean, that I'm missing.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened there was this really nice little vignette. I'm not sure if I'm using that word right. On the whole situation that Joel and Tess are dealing with after 20 years after the outbreak. It's clear that Joel is a completely different person than who he was, and things have taken a definite turn for the worse in terms of his character. He's an outlaw at this point. It's clear from the onset that he's doing stuff that he's quote unquote not supposed to be doing. But then for us as viewers, we're sort of it's hard for us to tell because we don't know what that world entails. We don't know if martial law is held together. We don't know any of these things, and that's what this part introduces us to. Martial law. The police have the military have basically, quarantined certain parts of cities. And the way that humanity works right now is by operating within those cities. And what Tess and Joel and Jess, what they're doing is they're smugglers, and that's what this establishes. Basically, it reminds me of a gang type situation where it's Tess and Joel who are a team, a gang, and then you've got all these other people who are their whole gang thing, and they're basically Tess and Joel are big hitters in this underground culture, underground smuggling trade, and it's hinted to that because there are certain NPCs that you walk across during this scene where you walk into this smuggler area, and basically one of them tries to pick a fight with you, and basically one of his friends comes up to him and says, "Dude, you don't want to mess with that guy. That's freaking Joel." And that guy's like, "Oh, damn, sorry, man." And he backs off. And so it's like, it hints little stuff that happened in those 20 years. And it's interesting. But the main thing that they're doing is they're trying to get their weapons back from a guy. I forget his name. I'm going to look it up now. I want to say
It sounds like a cheap setup for making Joel come off as like a super
badass.
Because at the end of the game, and I'm kind of really like fast forwarding here,
yeah.
Marlene mentions that she lost like half or something of her people like on the trip between, I can't remember where they were to where they had to go to get the, and like, oh yeah, you've got to be like better than everybody else to be able to fucking. I'm kind of glad that I didn't see it. It's weird.
Robert. Okay, it's Robert. And so, basically, he's an arms dealer. He was supposed to sell guns to Joel and Tess, but instead, he sold the guns to the Fireflies, a.k.a. Marlene. So, that's how you get introduced to Marlene and therefore Ellie. So, yeah, that's it. It's basically a tutorial. So, yeah, that's the whole thing with Robert. That's how Tess eventually dies. So, there's that. There's one thing I want to ask.
Okay.
Did you call... Well, there's more than one thing. Did you call Ellie being bit before it happened?
Ellie being bit before
Did you foresee
it happened?
that? Did you foresee that she was bit?
Oh, I don't know. Like, I didn't think about it, but it didn't come as a surprise either. I didn't have a lot. I mean, I watched you. I didn't have like too much really, and so when they were like, "Oh, I'm bit," I was like, "Oh, well." I mean, just it was as if nothing really happened.
That was one of the unfortunate things about The Last of Us, in that I feel the same way. It's like all of the stuff that happens, with the exception of a few events, and we'll go through those. But a lot of the stuff, you pretty much called it right at the beginning. Like, in terms of just like your typical apocalypse story, nothing was really different. It was all pretty much standard, like, run-of-the-mill stuff. I should quantify that with the whole. A few of those things that were different were Ellie being infected. I kind of called that before I saw it, but just because she was wearing long sleeves. So, but not that. I mean, nothing was really outstanding for me, because I've seen. I guess one of the things that most people would say was, "Oh, didn't you think that what was his name, David? Don't you think that David was like crazy for like cannibalizing people?" And spoilers for The Road.
Not really.
Not really. Like, I just read The Road, and so the fact that one of the people in this story would consider cannibalism was just like not. It was like, when are they going to introduce the character who's eating people? Like, when is that going to happen? At what point? But then I'm one of those people who really thinks way too hard about the plot when I'm playing a game, and it's a really bad habit. I do that with all media. I can't just sit back and like experience something. I have to like constantly nitpick it and like, oh, how are they going to tie this in? Oh, Chekhov's gun. When are they gonna bring this back? And it's really friggin' annoying. But yeah, it was kind of bad that I did that with The Last of Us. I'm not saying it's a bad story. I'm not saying that it's by any means predictable. But there is a sort of predictability.
Like the black people fucking dying?
Oh, yeah, totally. As soon as they showed up, I was like, when are they going to die? Because they're black. You know, I'm racist.
No, they're racist.
They're racist. They're so racist. I want to talk to you about that. When that happened, you remember that happening. I was fighting off a bunch of hunters who were coming in with my rifle, and you were looking through the scope. And, Joel, not me. I'm not in the game. Spoiler. So they're all like running down a hill, and you're sniping them, like headshot, boom, headshot, monster kill, and you've got you're trying to defend all of your friends, and then it gets to a point where they all sort of rush forward, and they get pinned, and then you're supposed to kill more hunters, and then you kill all the hunters, and then it's like, oh great, awesome. Wait, why am I still in the sniper mode? Why am I still looking down the scope? And sure enough, infected start streaming down the hill, and you've got to pop them all off, and then you kill them all, and then it's like a moment of niceness, and then it's like, oh great, why aren't I getting out of the scope still? Why am I still stuck in the scope? I remember watching the scene and going like, how do you get out of the scope? How do you? I'm pressing the circle button.
I watched you and I felt the same way. I was like, why isn't he getting out of the... And
so it was like a dead giveaway right there. Like, oh, something's going to happen. And sure enough, those two cordyceps people jumped out and grabbed both the black guys, the black kid and the black man. I forget his name.
Henry and Sam.
Yeah, there you go. Henry and Sam. And but here's the thing that threw me off. They're both grabbed, right? You're supposed to shoot one of them off, because that's all you can do. You can't shoot both of them off. You can't do two things at once. You're only one man with one rifle, shooting one bullet. Immediately after I got done with that part, and I noticed that, they both get up. I didn't shoot the zombie off. One of the other dude. It's funny because I couldn't tell which was which because my eyesight is crap, and the cordyceps zombies like knocked over each of them, and so I looked over to Henry and I shot the zombie off of him, but I really wanted to shoot the zombie off the kid, but I couldn't find him, or I didn't do him first. So when I shot the zombie, and it took me forever because I'm freaking terrible with console controls. As soon as I shot him off, they both got up, and it was like, oh, okay. They're both okay. And then immediately I went like, there's no way the kid got away from that. That means the kid got bitten. Wait a minute. What if I reload that and I shoot the zombie off the kid instead of off Henry? Will that change the events? And yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't. It's the same.
Nope.
It's linear. And that's one of my main issues with the game. It's so linear. It just like...
It has to be... I think when you have a game and you focus more on the story, it's got to have a little bit of...
There's got to be some consistency to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. To an extent. There are certain things where you realize that you're playing a game. And a game is all about player interaction. I am contributing to this gameplay experience by me playing. I am the person who is interacting with this world. I am the one who is shaping certain events by completing them or not completing them. And when I come across a game where it's like, maybe I'm just spoiled from games like Silent Hill 2 or Walking Dead, where I want to come into a game and I want to get, even if ever so slightly, a different experience in the story, not just the gameplay, in the story, than other people. And just from me playing it. And that's one of the issues that I had with The Last of Us. It might feel like a sort of a trope for video games to have multiple endings, but I felt like this game places so much emphasis on the path that you travel as you play the game that it could have definitely used a little bit of flexibility in the events near the middle. Because a lot of the events that happen are very, I don't want to say predictable again, but they're sort of eventual. They're sort of like, when will this event happen? When will this event happen? When will Joel get to the brink of death? When will Ellie get to the brink of death? When will Joel and or Ellie have to, sort of rise to the occasion? And, yeah. So I think the game could have benefited from a little bit more massaging in that area. That's not to say it's bad. I think it's really good. As I said, I think it's one of the best game I have ever played for the PlayStation 3. But that does not mean it could not have been better. And I think that there's plenty of room to make this game better. Not the least of which is to fix all the fucking glitches. Fix that shit for the love of God. I can't tell you how many frickin' times I went over to a frickin' zombie or a frickin' human and I pressed that grab button only to get instant killed because the grab button didn't work. I saw the grab button. It was right there. I think it's triangle if memory serves. And it was right there. It was highlighted on their frickin' body. And I press it and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And my controller's fine.
It did leave, as someone who watched it did leave for some awkward fight scenes because it looked like your character was just kind of running into them.
Yeah. What did you think of Bill? You remember Bill?
Is Bill, I don't want to say this because I know it's going to sound rude, but okay, just throw me a bone here because I don't remember names. Is that the gay dude?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the thing I wanted to talk to you about. I was reading a bunch of articles online about how Naughty Dog handled that really well.
What did they handle really well? It's a fucking gay dude.
Here's the thing that those articles were saying. They were saying, that they handled the sexuality part really well. Because a lot of games, or rather, they handled it better than a lot of other games. Because you have to admit, a lot of other games get that whole sexuality thing completely fucking bonkers. Where they have a gay character and they're lisping and fucking, smacking guys' asses.
What
going way over the top.
Are people playing? Because I can't even remember a single fucking game I played that had a gay dude in it, and the Leaf people, I can't remember the fucking race, doesn't count from Guild Wars 2. I can't think of a single freaking game I played where there was even a gay character in it. Shows, yeah, they do the whole over the top gay thing. Movies, yeah.
Maybe that would
they
be
really
a better example because I honestly can't think of any games off the top of my head that had gay people in them. And that's probably bad. There should be more representation there.
Well, I think, for games, yeah.
But the whole idea is that Naughty Dog didn't beat you over the head with it. They didn't go oh, he's gay! And have a big friggin' neon sign and Bill wearing a friggin' Speedo, lisping everywhere. And they did it. It was really subtle. And in fact, it was so subtle that I didn't catch it at all on my first playthrough. I didn't catch it. I didn't know. And that's why when people were talking about Bill being gay, I was like, whoa, wait
a minute.
What?
Wait a minute. Whoa. We knew because we joked about it on the couch when his boyfriend is found dead, hung up in the frickin' or whatever in the room. We joked that he was such a terrible boyfriend or whatever that he went and hanged himself just to get away.
Exactly. We joked. I was joking. I didn't know.
Oh my god, you didn't! Oh my god, I thought you knew, and that's what made the joke even more hilarious to me. But I guess maybe because you thought they were straight, that's why the joke. Oh gosh, damn it! I thought you knew.
No, actually.
Oh, that's crazy.
And one of the biggest tells was when Ellie stole that magazine from Bill. The manly magazine and Mangazine. And
nice.
It's funny because the way that my brain processed that, I automatically thought it was a Playboy or something, and it had a whole bunch of nude women in it. And that's why it's funny when Ellie turned to Joel and said, "How do you walk around with that thing?" I thought that she was musing to herself how women walk around with giant tits. I didn't know. I completely filled that stuff over, so that's why it was really weird. I went back and watched that scene again, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, there's the picture of the guy on the front." Oh,
that's nuts. I just assumed that you knew they were gay.
No, I didn't. I thought that they were just really good buds. Basically, what I'm saying is I have the worst gaydar of anyone in the universe. You know what?
Maybe you don't. Maybe. I mean, did they come out and say they're gay?
Maybe it's everyone else.
Maybe exactly.
That's
maybe
very true.
we're just two dudes hanging out. Two dudes can't hang out. That means they're gay.
Yeah, hanging out literally, hanging out with the noose.
That's right.
They're just hanging out.
Oh man, when he was, I laughed. I thought it was funny when we found him there hanging. I was like, huh, that's rich. That's pretty good. I like that. Not that he was like dead hanging, but I mean, they was just like, fuck this, I'm out.
Oh yeah.
Fuck my boyfriend. Fuck this shit.
There was a sort of grim, sort of bluntness to it. Like, well, fuck it. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the boss fights. So there was a point as I was playing when I realized this isn't a survival horror game. This is a survival horror / action game. And that moment was when they introduced the first bloater. And that was the moment when my brain sort of took a shit. And I was immediately thrown into something that I was not mentally prepared for. And I didn't die, but it was one of those things that was just so jarring. And the only other thing that I can think of to liken it to is the end of Silent Hill Downpour. When the game literally, it's like building you up for this idea that the gameplay it's rough. You don't want to get into fights because it's hectic and you could die immediately.
And then they force you into fucking fights at the end. And it's like, wow.
So that's, what did you think about that?
Well, I don't know if I like the comparison because I thought it was done poorly in Downpour. I expected it to go this way, in this game. So
yeah, it's probably a smart assessment.
I can see though, because the thing is, I was watching it, and when you're watching and you're playing, it's different. I'm not gonna say pretend like I actually played the game. I think if you got into it and you get yourself such in a mode that you're like constantly stealthing and like doing all this ninja shit, that would throw you off. I think they wanted to throw you off, but I think it was also saying like, hey, look, you're not gonna be sneaking throughout the whole fucking game. Just so you know, there's gonna be parts in the game where you gotta like, it's gonna turn complete action. I think it was an intro to that.
That's an interesting way of seeing it. And honestly, I should have known because there was that scene where Joel is hanging upside down after Tess dies, and Ellie is running around trying to figure out a way of getting you down. When you first get into Bill's area, and he had a trap set up, and it caught Joel, and he's hanging upside down trying to shoot everything. And I should have known because right there it was like a little hint where it was like, oh, this isn't stealthing. This isn't killing enemies like, really silently. This is action. This is just straight action. Because one of the biggest things that was sort of jarring to me during that whole event was I was shooting these enemies really like a lot. And I remember thinking like, I don't want to shoot too much because I don't have enough ammo. So I'm going to shoot as sparingly as I possibly can. And then I noticed that I only had like 2 shots left. And there were like 3 friggin' zombies coming at me. So I shot one, shot the other, and I'm out. And then Ellie says, here's more ammo that I found. And it was just like so friggin' jarring. And it was like, oh, okay. This is a scene where I'm not supposed to give a shit. So, yeah. And after that, I sort of let loose. But I don't know why I tucked that away in my brain, and then I got to the bloater scene, and I'm just like, whoa, this is really friggin' jarring. And, I can agree with people who, would have that assessment, because it is jarring, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. That just makes it varied. You've got to learn to, roll with the
yeah,
punches.
I don't think it would have been jarring to everyone.
No.
I think that if you didn't have those action sequences, it would have been pretty boring. I mean, this isn't like... And even Metal Gear Solid has its own little action sequences. I mean, that's what made it more exciting for me. As someone who watched it, I wouldn't have wanted to... I mean, where you had to sneak around, it was fun. But what made my heart race were all the action sequences that you had to do. Yeah. To be honest. So.
And it's freaking Naughty Dog. Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 2 were just like chock full of that stuff. They know how to do the action. And I'm glad that they do it because they did it in Last of Us because they do it really well. It's just that when it's a gameplay element, then it's kind of like, well, the thing that I really liked it in Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 and in Uncharted 1, I should say. I liked it in Uncharted because it got you away from the horrible gunplay in that game. I hated the gunplay in that game. Yeah. So any break from it was welcomed by me. But yeah, Yeah, it was jarring, but I got accustomed to it. There were certain scenes like with the in the school where you have to turn on the generator, and then that spawns a whole bunch of cordyceps zombies, including a bloater. That was just like I kept banging my head against that whole sequence because it was like I tried to play it like a silent, silently. I tried to run up to zombies and shiv them and be really quiet, but it was for naught because the way that I beat that was by turning on the friggin' the generator and then immediately running to the door right through the bloater. And then I opened the door, and then it triggered a cutscene, and the bloater that was right next to the door threw one of his fungus thing at me, and it didn't hit me at all because
I remember wanting to tell you like you should probably go up because you didn't actually. There was like the ramp, and and I wanted to tell you like you should probably go up the ramp first. And maybe, because I think we both knew what was going to happen, but you actually hadn't gone up the ramp. So the first time you got up the ramp was when you turned on the generator. It was too late, and like they were all too sad to you.
That was bad.
Thanks, car, bitch. Thanks for driving. Yeah, I don't know.
Damn cars in there driving.
Yeah, what are you driving for? It's late.
No, just stop driving. Just pull over.
Yeah, just turn that fucking shit off.
Come on, man. We don't need that. We don't need that on our roads.
It's alright. Noise pollution.
Exactly. So, yeah, there was that.
I really want to talk about the black people.
Okay. Talk about the black people.
They died. What the fuck was up with that?
On to the next topic. No, you want to elaborate? What?
Well, yeah, they died. There was none. Okay. It's like they wrote the game and were like, we need a minority because this game's chock full of white people. And so they give us 2 black people. Well, they give us 3. But they give us all. They give all the black people unfortunate roles. It was like a mixture of we don't know how to write black people, or these characters we don't care what race they are. They're gonna die anyway. We might as well make them black or whatever. Name any race that's not white because we don't have any in our game yet. It was like not being politically correct. What's the word that I'm fucking looking for? It's like when they put minorities on scholarships in the college. What is that? There's a name for that.
Affirmative action?
Affirmative action. It's like affirmative action for your fiction or whatever. I just had a problem
affirmative fiction?
with the I just thought it was really bad fucking writing. I did. I thought it was fucking lame.
Mm.
I don't need to play a game and it doesn't need to have any race in it. If that game didn't have any black people in it, it is what it is. Sometimes you're just not going to run across someone for a different race. It happens. Well, they did have black people as the enemies and stuff, like random, but it just seemed weird that the 3 of the prominent characters who happened to be black, just all happened to die. It was annoying, and I think part of it was because I didn't want Henry and Sam to die, and it has nothing to do with the color. It was just oh my god, we get to it was a break. And I understand taking that break away, but when it's just I don't know, it was okay, well, we need to put minorities in here to be, politically correct. But then they died. So it was just I don't know.
I don't know if they put them in there to be politically correct.
I think it's obviously put them in there to be politically correct, to be honest, because none of the black people in there fucking even... It was one of those cases, and this happens in fiction, too, where you have, your main character's white, you got, your protagonist is white, and then, your second protagonist is white, and then you have that black character. Oh, and he's doing an important role. He's that important dude. He's the president or whatever, but he's never the main character.
Yeah,
never.
That's true. That is very true.
And this was another case. This was one of them, and it's just not a coincidence. I'm sorry that the only black people in there happened to die,
and not be the main character.
Yeah, and they were the main.
Yeah,
character.
as much credit as Naughty Dog gets for having gay characters and black characters in their games. It's never the main character. You always have Uncharted with freaking Nathan goddamn Drake, a white guy, a Caucasian white male, and then you have The Last of Us, Caucasian white male. Oh, but he's a little bit older. It's bullshit. And you could quantify that by saying the first character that you play is a little girl, and then you play as Ellie later on.
Yeah, but
in the
she
game.
dies. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like they could only handle one female in the whole game. They stick her in, that's fucking Ellie, because all the other bitches die. You know what I mean?
The funny thing about that is that there's a point when the little girl gets hurt, and so Joel has to pick her up and carry her throughout the entire beginning. But it makes sense with that because that's a kid. But then again, it's like, oh, they're all girls, you know?
Yeah, but look at Tess.
Yeah.
She was all, like, tough and so tough, right, that she fucking just died because they couldn't fucking handle. That's what it comes, like, if you take away the, you know, whatever, and you just focus on the story, that's what it comes off as. They couldn't handle more than one female. And they couldn't handle these black characters. They got rid of the black characters, and they got rid of the extra fucking females, and they just have this girl. And they just have Ellie and the...
Yeah, and I guess...
So, you got, like, a good story, but
You could back that up and be like, well... It's a post-apocalyptic story. You can't expect everyone to live.
Well, considering the amount of other people that did live, for instance, you go and you find your brother and he's amongst a shit ton of fucking white people. I mean, you're right. You can't expect everyone to live, but you could
Yeah, I find it... Now that you mention it, I find it extremely fishy that Tess died the way she did.
Yeah, it was fucking stupid.
You remember at the very beginning when she got jumped? You probably don't because you weren't.
But I got this really big impression, especially because she was partnered with Joel. Yeah. That she's a fucking. Why would he partner with someone who's
weak?
Exactly.
Or who would get killed?
I mean, even after she dies, they even talk about her in a way that she's still like a badass, except that she just fucking died. So, right. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely had its fucking tropes. I guess you can't, it's kind of hard to escape that, but, I mean, I'm not saying that the story is shit, but I don't know, that was disappointing, really.
Yeah.
To me, it was.
Yeah, there were a lot of disappointing elements to the story. I mean, at the very end, it was kind of disappointing, because nothing really happened. I mean, there was a lot of interesting character development, and a lot of interesting events that happened, especially the whole thing with, you know, oh, there is a cure, and then Joel lies to Ellie. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're both alive. Mm-hmm. They both have, you know, the same relationship. Mm-hmm. You know, not the same exact relationship, but the same established relationship that they had going in right before Joel got really badly hurt. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that I wanted more. And the fact that they ended it where they did was kind of jarring. It was basically the equivalent of getting to the end of part 1 of a book and looking frantically through for part 2, only to find out that it's not written yet. And it's frustrating. I think that's what I want to say. Because they built it knowing that they're going to do more, and they didn't want to have anything really drastic happen at the end.
Well, are they going to add more? I mean, are we going to get more of Joel and Ellie?
I actually read the concept art book, and unless I'm reading too far into it, they do say. Let me open it up. 1 second, podcast listeners.
It seems to be becoming a new thing now. You sell like a $60 game and you don't really finish it. And so you decide to sell the expansion for like $10, $15, $20.
This is creative director Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, game director of The Last of Us. In late 2009, we were given a simple task: develop Naughty Dog's next big franchise. So unless I'm reading too far into that, I want to say that there is a Last of Us 2 coming out.
If they know what they're doing,
franchise.
If they know what they're doing, they're gonna at least quit the story with Joel and Ellie. I could see how people would go, "Oh man, I don't wanna. I feel like it's I just lost the word. Fuck, I just lost the word.
Discontinued.
No. Shoot, I lost the word.
Episodic.
No. Keep throwing out more words.
Sandwich.
No. I forgot the words, so fuck it. But I like the ending. But I could see how people feel. I don't want to say cheated or whatever, but they could feel like it wasn't finished, or maybe it felt a little bit empty and not completely complete.
Yeah, it felt like I don't know. Basically, like what you just said, it's not that I felt that it was bad. I just really, really wanted more. It was probably to their detriment that they created such really interesting characters and a really interesting relationship that I wanted more of it. And the fact that it ended the way that it did without resolving the conflict of the lie, that made me go like, oh, I can't believe I don't know how the rest of this ends. I felt kind of cheated. Kinda. But that's not to say that that's a bad ending. It's a really good ending. Mm-hmm. I remember something very similar happening with another big influence on this game, No Country for Old Men. I remember getting to the end of that and wanting to know more about the characters.
I didn't watch that movie. Is that the movie with Javier
Bardem?
Bardem, yeah. I didn't watch that movie, so don't spoil me because I'm going to watch it eventually.
I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. If you have not seen it, please see it. It is wonderful. Actually, I'm pretty sure that it was that the team behind some of the team behind The Last of Us got out of that movie. I'm pretty sure I heard one of the creative team say this, but the team people in the team behind The Last of Us came out of that movie and said, "We can do that." And so they decided to do something very similar to that style and came up with The Last of Us. And it eventually became that. That was a big influence. The other influence was Planet Earth and the Cordyceps. So yeah, basically watch those two things, mix them together, you get The Last of Us. Also The Road. I see a lot of references to The Road.
In this game, they make it to where, like, everybody's bad. Like, every fucking buddy, like, everybody's just really, it's not even a matter of being out for yourself, but just being, like, bad. Like, bad. And I get
Except Henry and Sam.
I get that you, who fucking die anyways, so what does it matter?
All the good people die. Isn't that the thing?
I get that you, to have you need to have conflict.
Yeah.
In every story, you've got a protagonist who wants something, needs to get it, something gets in the way. Okay, I get it. But I feel like you could have done something different than just to be like, yo, so everybody fucking sucks dick now. And,
Sucking dick isn't that bad.
Well, that's true. Sucking dick isn't a bad thing. I should say that. Everybody is really mean.
Yes.
And is out to fucking kill you.
Yes.
And,
kill you or eat you.
It got fucking tired really fucking quick. It really did. It was just like, man, really? Is this what it's...
But Refmo, it's a commentary on an apocalypse.
I know.
And the real threat isn't the cordyceps, it's people!
I know, right? And I remember watching that interview and just rolling my eyes and going, oh my god. Because the dude who talked about it came off as if, like, this is like a fresh idea. It's not fucking fresh, man. It's as old as long as zombie fucking movies have been out, which has been like, what, looking at my fucking invisible watch here, 40 fucking years, okay?
For those who can't see her, she actually turned her wrist with nothing on it.
That's true.
Her bare wrist toward her face.
It's an invisible watch.
It's an invisible watch.
Come on.
What time is it?
It's 11. That was close, 11:27. Okay, my watch is a little off, but it's pretty good, okay? Yeah, so by the time you got to, like, your 25th fucking gang and they were trying to rape and kill you, I was like, wow, this fucking sucks.
Were they trying to rape
for that
you?
to be done. No, it's just, you might as well assume that they're... I mean, whatever. If they're gonna kill you, and they're trying to portray, like, everyone is fucking bad, I mean, like, rape's really, really, really bad, right? Like, right. I mean, and can't fucking have a horror game without some kind of rape in it. So here comes David, the so-called boss, or whatever, I didn't really even see that fight as a boss fight, to be honest. Because it felt no, I really didn't.
I can see it as like a multi-stage action event.
They gave it, yeah, and that's what felt like. Yeah, they gave them, like, like bosses typically have some kind of like hack to give them the advantage over you as a player. But no, I didn't come off really as thinking that any part in this game was actually a boss fight. I was okay with that too, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense because I would say that the bloaters were bosses. Kind of. And
I could see that, when you first encounter one, you think that, of course, then you see them again. And you go, oh, it's more like an intro to a mob that's exactly who's going to be tough. And they're not going to be Frankwood, but they're going to be there. And this isn't the last time you see them, kind of thing, yeah.
Sort of like a Crimson Head
Yeah.
in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So they'll come out, introduce the enemy type, and then later on they'll throw 2 at you, and then see what
Except
you do.
I think the Crimson Heads are in the remake of the first one, and the Crimson Heads turn into all the zombies. And I might be remembering this wrong, but they turn into all the zombies who you actually didn't shoot in the head.
Exactly.
So if you played like me, they were fucking everywhere. You get like halfway through the game and you're just like, holy shit, oh my god. Literally, I remember freaking out. I walked into a hallway and because they left like all the dead zombies like that. Yeah. So I walk in and there's like nothing there and I'm like, oh my god, where the fuck did they go? And I couldn't play. Like I put the controller down. I was like, I'm done. Fuck.
Funny story. Same thing happened to me. I fought a Crimson Head and I was like, I'm fucking done with this.
Oh my god, I love that game. There was one part I played and you could hear it because they would run.
Yeah.
And
that was the thing that fucked me up.
You could hear them from another room or a building or a hallway, and I got to one. It's weird. It's so weird. Like that game just left such an impact on me. Of course, I was younger, but you could hear it, like just. And I remember just like, and it wouldn't stop, and it wouldn't fucking stop. And I just sat there, and I'm like, I can't fucking play this shit. I'm gonna walk in because I had one chase me down a flight of stairs. I'm fucking serious about what I'm about to say. He turned me around. He turned my character around and he bitch slapped me. Listen, I got 4 fucking witnesses. I had my brother watching me. I had my sister watching me. I had my mom's boyfriend's daughter watching me. Oh, you know what? I had my cousin. Okay, yeah, that's 4. Shit, I was like, that's 5. No, that's 4. I had 4 fucking people watch all that shit. They can fucking tell you. I ran down the stairs. I was screaming in life. He came. He turned me around and he fucking bitch slapped my character. Was like, oh shit. And I killed it, but that's what it did. So, that's why that game's like the best game I've ever played in my life.
Even though you haven't played all of it.
Resident Evil the remake?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did. I beat it.
Oh, I thought you quit.
No.
The Crimson Head.
Nope. I beat it.
Okay. You're,
No, there were definitely a lot of times where I put the controller down. There was one part I couldn't, because nobody in my family wanted to play those types of games, so I was one who had to play them.
Mm-hmm.
There was one part that I was so freaked out. I was so tensed up. I couldn't handle it anymore. My cousin, who, oh my gosh, I've got like 10 years on her. I was like, I'll pay you to play. I'll pay you $10 to get me through this little segment of the game. And because the controls are all stupid, like you have those like tank controls, she like was fucking dying and all kinds of shit. And she like couldn't move. She was like banging into the wall and shit. So of course I had to keep playing, but yeah. Oof, it's a good game. Because it got bitch slapped. Now I want to play a game where a fucking zombie runs after me and turns me around.
I'll play that game again. I have all these fond memories.
You didn't play the remake. You know what? A lot of people didn't play the remake on the GameCube. That's what I played.
I played a fair amount of it.
No, you didn't.
I got to my first Crimson Head.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really get past that. But, mainly because I didn't really see a point because I had already played.
And we didn't.
I played Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3.
We didn't. We played the second one, and we played it before we played yeah. We didn't play the first one. We did play Resident Evil 2, which was why we got the Resident Evil 1 remake on the GameCube, because we liked it so well. But yeah.
Dude, I want to play Code Veronica again. I have nothing but fond memories of that game. I need to go and dash them like I did with Silent Hill 2. I'm trying to play that on the friggin' PC, and it's blowing up in my face and just ruining my nostalgia for it. I remember that game, because when you play games when you're younger, it's like they have such a lasting impact.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember getting to the part where they introduced Angela's character and Angela's past. And I remember that really affected me. That was like a big deal because a game that is so mature like that, and I don't mean mature as in M-rated. I mean mature as in it deals with these topics in a very complicated, nuanced, and very thoughtful way. And I was not prepared for that when I played it when I was a kid. That was really crazy. That was like a David Lynch movie when you're fucking like a teenager. And you're just not knowing how to friggin'... But yeah, it's an interesting point that you bring up, that everyone's sort of evil. Do you think... Let me ask you a question. What do you think Joel is? A good guy or a bad guy?
He's obviously a good guy.
Obviously. Even though he lied to Ellie. And basically fucked humanity.
People lie all the time.
That's true.
Oh, well, I mean, when you put that in...
Because the big thing...
There's a little bit of disappointment. I remember thinking, not being disappointed in the story because that's a fucking solid ending in his character. But it was great because they basically had built this up to where, like, Ellie was trying to get close to Joel, and Joel wasn't having it. And then the tables turn, and Ellie's just kind of like, they harden her. That's what they call it. They harden her. She had to, like, she killed David, and then she became hardened after. And then...
By the way, I don't want to sidetrack too much, but the moment, when they separate the games via seasons, and when you go from winter to spring, and you just see how Ellie's reacting to Joel, and Joel's conversations he's basically having with himself, and how Ellie's sort of reacting to that, it's such a nuanced little thing where Joel's like sort of trying to have conversations with her, and she's just like sort of closed off. And I thought that was really nicely done. I thought it was really, really, really well done.
I don't agree.
The voice acting in this game is friggin' top notch. And that's little stuff like that was just like the way that she reacted to the whole situation and how she reacted realistically, and sort of not realistically, but she reacted how, you know, her character would, and she changed because of it. And then just to have Joel like sort of ask her a question, and to have all of that history where she was like so talkative and talking all the time, and then all of a sudden she's just like silent, just not responding.
That's not the thing.
I thought it was really well done. Anyway.
I thought they overdid it too much, especially considering that it's 2 season changes. When she kills David, it's a goddamn fucking blizzard. And then, you know, literally it's months later, because look at the weather. Yeah. They have to shove it down our throats that it's obviously changed her. They didn't have to do it that much. They're basically like, our audiences are a little stupid. Let's make sure they understand that affected Ellie. You could have done it a little more subtly, I think. Because to me, it just felt like, okay, I get it. Like, I already got it. As soon as she was quiet from the get-go, she was off staring at, like, a poster or something when the scene starts, I think. Like, you're walking on the road or you're interstate, she's off looking at something. I already got it. As soon as she was sitting there stabbing David over and over again, and Joel's like, okay, you can stop. I got it. I got that changed her. They didn't need to just sit there and, like, spend 20 minutes on the fact that it's like, we just want you to know that this changed Ellie. I got it. I'm going to say it again. I got it.
Did you get it?
I totally got it. So I didn't think that they needed to, like, hammer it in that fucking much.
Yeah. They're kind of
I guess that's
blunt.
one of my peeves about the story. As a whole, had some of the things been more subtle. There were some things that were subtle, and it did really, really, really well. And then some other things they, like, wanted to make sure, like, you understood, but I don't think that they needed to.
What were some of the things that you liked that they did?
Well, I like the off the top of my head, the cannibalistic part. And it's more like an assumption, really. They don't come out and tell you.
They don't really, yeah.
Yeah, and the interaction that David had with her.
It's only really until Joel walks in and sees all of the bodies strung up and finds the notes.
Damn, I guess I just really like David's character. Really.
I really like how they sort of had David's character as, like, he's not a bad guy. And I recently watched an interview with Nolan North, the voice actor of David, and they were talking about, you know, why he chose the character and how he got into the character, and he was like, he really liked the character because he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He was just a person trying to make do with the circumstances. Because it's one of those really interesting things when you have at the very beginning of the event, when you first meet David, that, like, he's just out there just like you. He's relatable. He's just looking for food. He even offers to trade for the deer that Ellie kills, and it's just like, okay, at first you're like, no, there's something wrong about this guy, and then you and him sort of get attacked by those the cordyceps zombies, and, like, you're forced to sort of like each other, and I eventually grew to sort of, I liked him. He was okay. He was doing certain things. He was helping me out. I loved that he had the gun on him the entire time. and he didn't let us know about it. But at the same time, not only did I like that, because that's sort of something that I would do, it also hints that he's a liar. It hints that he's hiding something. And as you're going through and fighting all these things, it's like, I loved it because it was like, you're doing these things together. He's a sort of like another partner and another AI controlled partner that you're having all this crazy fun with, killing cordyceps zombies, and then all of a sudden he turns out to be a total douchebag, and like I just love the way that it eased you into that and sort of let you come up with your own ideas of who this guy was, and then finally, after all that said and done, come and hit you over the head with it. Though I do question why David would give Ellie the actual antidote, or the actual what did he, like some antibiotics, I think, that he gave Ellie. I do question why they actually gave her actual antibiotics instead of something that like a placebo or something that looked like antibiotics, because that's basically him helping his enemy.
There wasn't any. You're not supposed to look into it. It was just a way for Joel's character to be saved. And to be honest, even that was a stretch. The reality is he fell on a pole. It got stabbed through him. And I'm sorry, but penicillin isn't going to fix that. It just really isn't. And not that quick, by the way.
Especially that quick.
It was, so I don't think you are supposed to look into it. I think it was just like a quick fix, just to have Joel come and.
Yeah. There are certain totally unrealistic elements to this.
Yeah, and I'm going to let it slide. It has to be, this is a game first and foremost, period. Yeah. And I'm going to let that shit slide. If it's a movie, then I can get a little critical.
But we should say that because they place so much emphasis on realism and everything being realistic, it's really jarring when stuff like that happens.
It is. I'm not going to lie. There are definitely times I watched you play and I rolled my eyes. I'm not going to lie. And if you're going to be a game developer who focuses on story, like, you might want to get those kinks out, because you're playing a game first and foremost, but you can work your story around that, make it make sense, and not throw the player out of a loop because of something that happens in the story because of the game. And you can like work around that if you really want to. I don't know, as for David, like, the whole, like, he's not really a bad guy. The kid's a fucking bad guy. I mean, everybody, when you're playing a bad guy, and, actors love to say this shit when they play a bad guy role, because it's, like, in their brain, they have to tell themselves, well, they're not really a bad guy. They got their motives, and so in their own head, like, they think they're doing good. Well, that doesn't mean that they're actually still not a bad guy. Like, maybe in their own head.
Well, I guess the distinction that should be made is whether they're a bad guy or whether they're an antagonist.
Well, an antagonist isn't... Wait a minute. An antagonist and a bad guy aren't necessarily the same thing.
Exactly, which is what I'm saying.
I don't know what you mean by that. I'm just basically saying that
well.
I consider David's character just straight up bad, period.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, the reality is
he had... They met the guys when they went to find the fireflies.
Yeah.
And those guys just came out shooting. Like the rest of all the other enemies who were considered bad, David's guys came out and started shooting them. I don't know. For me, David's just it was nice to get like a different side of his character, and then the whole like other stuff that I don't know what they were trying to imply with the whole like Ellie's trapped and maybe let's use her to repopulate, maybe, or just use her just because she's a girl and hey, she's like she's sexy because she's like 14 and like taking care of herself or whatever. I don't know. David gave off that creepy vibe. I think we all know what we're talking about.
I think there is actually a line in the game where someone like, I think it's Joel, he manages to get out, or it's either something happens where one of David's like sort of henchmen, you can hear them say, I think David's got a new plaything.
Oh, the new, like, pet or plaything.
Pet or something like that. And that was, like, a big, like, whoa, what the fuck is happening there moment.
I still didn't take it. My head didn't immediately think, like, sexual, even at that comment.
No. I kind of, it's one of those things that it's just, like, I'm constantly dreading. And I really, there is a certain realism that's, baseline, but then when you go to like that level of realism and that level of like, you know, mature themes, that it's just like.
Well, I'm glad it didn't go in.
It's like fucking entertainment. Okay, I'm playing this to be entertained. I don't want to, you know. There's a line.
Well, rape is always sad and scary, so we gotta throw it in our games. It's like the new thing to, I mean, if you're gonna play a horror game or some sort of like, or something bad happens to our protagonist, and no, God forbid she's female, guess what? Someone's gonna attempt to rape her.
Laura Croft.
It's pathetic.
Tomb Raider.
It's cheap, and I think Naughty Dog can do better. With that said, they didn't throw it down our throats because, I mean, he didn't make an attempt to.
Right.
It's just that we kind of got that hint.
Yeah.
I just still think you didn't even have to have that in there because David still posed a really creepy threat without the whole, because the reality is we're introduced and like the dude's cutting up what looks like a human. So we're already thinking, oh man, this dude's creepy because he's like eating his own people, which actually makes a lot of sense.
Was he eating his own people or was he eating people?
Well, I mean, eating people. And by what I meant by his own, I guess I meant like, you know,
that's interesting.
Other humans.
That's interesting that it could have been his own people though.
Yeah, I could have.
like
I just meant like humans in general, but I mean, it could have. It could have very well. You don't know who was on the.
The receiving end of those butcher knives.
Yeah.
And real quick, you remember when he brought down Ellie was caged, and then he was cutting up one of the people. Did part of your brain think, "Oh my God, is that Joel?"
No.
No, mine did. I was like, oh no! And then they cut immediately to Joel, like sort of in the garage or wherever they were, wherever he was. And I was like, oh Christ. It was funny. Because I knew that they could not have done that and gotten away with it. There's no way he died. But still, it's like, you know, the game had killed off other characters as well. I certainly didn't expect Tess to get killed off quite as quickly as she did. But I knew she was going to die eventually.
And it's so lame because, honestly, she really didn't have to.
She didn't have to.
She didn't have to.
She could have gotten captured.
They could have easily worked her in.
You could not tell, you know, what happened to her. You know, there are plenty of ways that could have gone. You know, I like it when you sort of leave things up for the player to decide what happens to them. Mm-hmm. But then again, there are certain aspects of that aren't really satisfying. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I just complained about the ending and not being satisfied because we don't know, you know, that stuff. But, you know, that's more of a minutia type thing. When it comes to whether a character is alive or dead, I think that's something that can be left up to the player for the player to decide. Especially if there is a little bit of a hint that they're still alive. I really like that.
You know, it was annoying. You mentioned S-squared thing. The amount of times that the fucking characters got in the way, the NPCs. I thought that, considering that your character seemed almost immune, I mean, literally, your fucking, the people who were following you, like your escorts, I'll just call them escorts, like Ellie and like Billy, or is it Bill or Billy or Bill or whatever? Oh, Bill. They would just like run out and like fucking touch the mob, be like, hey motherfucker, what's up? And the mob wouldn't do anything.
Right.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So they could have given you some more fucking room because watching you play was frustrating sometimes. Not on you, on them, because your fucking escorts just like got in front of you at the wrong moment. I mean, there were like 1,000 times where you were screaming like, move, 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 and you were talking about your fucking character. And we can't control them. You know?
I yell a lot when I play games. It should be noted.
Well, yeah, but I would have yelled too. I would have literally been yelling like, move, 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 move. And
move,
I was...
motherfucker.
Yeah, move, motherfucker. Yeah, that's right. That's how I talk. Move, bitch. That was frustrating. That was frustrating to watch.
I think we were actually... I was bemoaning that when we were playing once, and it happened again, and it caused me to die because I was trying to run away from like whatever they're called, the clicker. And fucking Ellie was right there.
Yeah. And
I tried to move, and she was just like friggin' everywhere I tried to go, she went into that position. And so the clicker eventually grabbed me and tried to. And I think they one-hit killed me, even though the first thing that I got was the ability to shiv out of an instant kill clicker death. But I think I didn't have any shivs at the time or something. But yeah, they like charged me and I died, and then we immediately came up with a solution to that. Dear Naughty Dog, if you're going to patch this, please, I really hope you do, but make it so that if you run into a character and you do that for more than 0.5 to 1 second, Make them like clip through, please. It's one of those things where you sacrificed the ability for mobs to tell where your NPC partners are. It's jarring, but you won't sacrifice your gameplay.
You really won't. The collision was just not needed. I'm sorry, I think it was stupid.
Alright, questions?
Yeah, questions.
Okay. Woo! So I asked Twitter and YouTube for a bunch of questions for us to answer, and we're going to go through them right now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question 1. Here's another jarring thing that happens in The Last of Us. When you are about to throw a Molotov cocktail, and you take out the Molotov, and you set it on fire, and you're holding it, and then you switch weapons, and you will put that flaming Molotov cocktail into your backpack.
No. Okay. You're fucking sitting here, and I watched you play, and it's just like, it ruined my motherfucking immersion. Okay, that's a joke. I remember telling you that, like, oh my god, it's ruining my immersion. You got a fucking can and some shit. Some metal and some spring, and it's clackety cling cling, clackety cling cling cling. And I'm sitting there thinking, how the fuck are these fucking mobs not hearing this shit? Are you kidding me?
You are literally taking a can and pouring metal spikes
and you're making
the
loudest motherfucking noise.
It is literally the loudest noise that you can possibly do.
They could have turned the volume down on that, but no, they're just like, oh, well, it's metal, so we gotta make it as loud as fuck. Here we go. Clickety clang clang, clickety clang, clickety.
And the best part is making that in front of like enemies, like right in front of them, and they'll just walk by like, I don't care, whatever the fuck, I don't give a shit, and they'll just fucking walk by, and it's funny. I thought it was really funny. So yeah, that's another jarring moment where it's just like, wait, what? So. But then again, in terms of gameplay, that would have been a little bit...
I get that it has to be there.
Yeah.
But like...
But it's still funny.
It's just that you could have turned down the volume on that effect. It was really fucking loud.
Yes.
Had it been quieter, I wouldn't have been like, wow, what the fuck?
Like,
but it was so loud.
Also, there's a way of pouring, like, nails into a can without creating much fucking noise.
You stick your fucking fingers in like this, and you go,
Or even just grab a handful of nails and just take the can and put it sideways and just scoot the nails into and slowly rotate it and then put them on. Like, there are ways of doing it that would have made sense, but no, right now it's just like, oh, no one heard me. Anyway, so the first question is, if you do that and you set them on fire, does that make your backpack a jetpack? Asking for a friend.
A jetpack? That don't make you a jetpack. It makes you a walking fucking bomb. That's what it fucking does. How does it make you a jetpack?
Because it's on fire.
So if I put a backpack on and I set it on fire, I'm gonna fucking be able to fly around like fucking Iron Man?
Yep.
Alright.
That's actually how Iron Man works. Iron Man is a series of rags that are on fire.
A jetpack. Okay, I see how it's supposed to be like funny, haha. But no, don't make you fucking jetpack. There, answer your question.
Question answered. Question 2. Ellie had a knife, and it worked like an infinite shiv. Why can't Joel find a fucking knife anywhere?
Okay.
Sad face.
This bitch went to fucking prison. I never seen somebody fucking shanked so well since like fucking The Wire, okay?
Oh.
She jumped on this fucking kid and was just like, bam, 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 bam. As for him not fight, I mean, what do you mean? Like, you had a knife. Joel had a knife, and he used it to kill people.
No. He had a shiv.
Oh.
And you had to craft them. Joel never had a knife, like a knife. A knife. I quantify things by saying them again. So he didn't really have a knife. He had more of a knife. But no, I think that I don't know. It's fucking. I don't know why he didn't have a fucking knife. It seems like you would want a knife in a situation like that. But then again, it seems like knives would be probably the first thing scavenged by hunters and other people.
I mean,
just because they're
how am I gonna eat my fucking canned peaches? You know, like I eat proper fork and knife. I mean, I'm gonna use it to eat. It's my cutlery. I ain't gonna use it to stab people.
It's not like you're gonna bring a bunch of chopsticks around with you. It's freaking ridiculous.
So why didn't
Anyone
he
got a
have a
plastic
knife?
spoon?
I don't fucking know why he didn't have a knife. Because he's using it to eat his fucking peaches.
He didn't want to sully it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, yeah.
I mean, well, didn't he have like a machete or something like that?
Did he?
Didn't
I
he?
don't remember.
What? Or maybe I just made that the fuck up.
Maybe he did.
I could have sworn. You know
Didn't
what?
he have a Rubik's Cube?
Shut up. Whatever. I could have sworn he had a fucking machete. Gosh. Alright, go ahead. What's the next question?
Next question. How come the giraffes weren't also zombies? How much would a boss fight with a zombie giraffe ruin this game?
I think that the giraffes weren't zombies because the animals just didn't really seem to be affected, I guess. I guess it was just like a human kind of thing.
Yep.
Which makes sense with the whole, like...
Cordyceps thing.
Well, with the whole population. I mean, it's not like giraffes are there's not like 7 billion giraffes on planet Earth. There's 7 billion humans. As for the concept of a fucking boss giraffe, like a zombie, like, boss. Because, like, if you go on YouTube or whatever and you look up a giraffe and you see two fighting, it's some serious, like, neck play shit. So imagining a boss fight, like, as a giraffe is actually pretty fucking funny and pretty fucking cool. Would it ruin the game? For me, no. I would be like, oh my god, that game was solid just because you fucking fought a goddamn giraffe.
I think that the
I
only
don't know.
thing that,
I don't think other people would take it.
I think the only thing that scene would need would be the Jurassic Park theme song playing in the background, and then instant classic. Like, everything in gaming
have the
would be
Jurassic
compared.
Park theme song, and then have the giraffe like have a move where he like charges you, and then he neck bashes you, and your character like flies across the fucking room. So that way everybody knows that it's a joke. In fact, I would actually pay money to oh my god, you could have that could be the multiplayer part instead of fighting other people. You were fighting fucking giraffes. Oh my god, that's fucking solid, isn't it?
That is. I would play that in a fucking heartbeat.
I would play it too. I would.
It should be.
And then you can make it to where the players can play giraffes, and you can be the giraffe, and you can be like fucking head knocking people.
Yeah,
It's so good
I'm
in my
honestly
head.
kind of boggled why the multiplayer doesn't have like sort of a us versus them, humans versus like zombies type scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like a waste of potential.
Giraffes are cool. Period.
Giraffes are
That's the
cool.
answer to that.
Also, it should be noted. I keep saying that too. I should really stop saying that. Also, in the Last of Us coloring book. That's what I was going to say. In the Last of Us art book, there is a picture. It's in the section where it's detailing the events before the cordyceps fungus outbreak, and it's going through all the locations and stuff. Look at the picture if any of you have it out there in podcast land, in YouTube land, where this is going to reside. If anyone has it, open that page up and look at the image with what was it called? Like Lexron, the gas station.
Yeah, that's the Texron, I think.
Yeah, Texron. And then look at the other side of that image and look at the movies that are playing at that movie theater. It's pretty funny. I laughed when I was just reading it while I was doing some work, and just like reading it. I let out a big laugh when I saw that. It's pretty funny. It plays into the giraffe and Jurassic Park reference. And it basically lets you know that wasn't like a joke. That wasn't like a mistake. They were specifically like, they knew what they were doing with that, and that was definitely a Jurassic Park reference. So yeah, it's funny. Anyway, next question. If giraffes aren't affected by cordyceps, the sweet life of Zach and cordyceps. If giraffes aren't affected by cordyceps, why weren't the scientists researching them? I see a furry sequel in the works.
I guess I would say because you find the giraffes where the monkeys are, they could very well have been actually testing the giraffes. I mean, you find the monkeys.
Yeah, they were testing the monkeys.
And then you find the giraffes. So
that dude got bit by a monkey.
I don't remember if they actually
fucked.
showed a zoo nearby in that scene. I don't remember, but if they didn't, it's safe to say that they actually probably were maybe testing the giraffes and just didn't come out and say it, or they just decided to throw in a Jurassic Park reference for no reason, or not for no reason. Obviously, it's a reference, so it has a reason, but they decided to throw that in there, then not really think it through. But since they're with the monkeys, I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and say that maybe they were testing on giraffes. I don't know.
Maybe. There's no
Maybe
evidence to say that they weren't.
Yeah. So.
Mm. All right, next question. How many times did you get killed up close by bloaters? That animation is the worst thing ever. I actually, as I was compiling these questions, I did not know that they had a different death animation.
I didn't.
So I looked it up online, and I must agree, it is fucked up. Like, it's legitimately like, it's messed up. Do you want to? Do you know what it is? Do you want me to tell you what it is?
No, because I don't think you ever died up close to a bloater.
That's why I didn't know. I didn't know that they had one because I never died up close. Because every time that I encountered a bloater, I either ran away or got killed from afar with one of their,
What happens? What's it?
Here's what happens. The bloater, if you get really up close to it, it triggers an instant kill animation, just like with the clickers, but you can't shiv your way out of it. Pretty sure it doesn't even trigger a QTE. It might for a couple seconds. I don't know. But either way, it's an instant kill animation. And what happens is the bloater grabs Joel and puts him in sort of like a headlock. But instead of putting him in a headlock with his arms, he grabs Joel's bottom jaw with one of his hands and his upper jaw with his other hand.
Aww.
And yeah, he basically rips your head in half. And it's complete with all sorts of crazy sound effects. But yeah, I never really had a problem with the bloater ever since the first encounter. Once that first encounter happened, I was like, oh, okay, I know what these guys are. I'll save all of my Molotovs for them. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened with the last encounter where I encountered 2 bloaters. Luckily for me, they were both right next to each other, and I had 2 Molotov cocktails. So literally, I killed them in like no time. I just threw 2 Molotovs. Oh, and that was one of the funniest things about this game. I played on medium, so I don't know if this is an effective strategy on hard, but you can throw a glass bottle, and it'll shatter and create a really big noise. But immediately after you do that, when there are a whole bunch of like zombies around, if immediately after you do that you throw a Molotov cocktail, all of the enemies will run into the Molotov and catch themselves on fire. It's a really effective way of clearing like a whole friggin' room of those things. But yeah, I did that constantly. It was it was like the greatest thing. But yeah, it's a brutal animation. Like even the clicker death animation is pretty brutal. Because, I mean, the big thing for me about the clicker animation is when they bite, and then they pull back, and then they've got that little piece of sinew, and it's like, ugh. But then when the bloaters, like, rip your friggin' head in half, I don't know, I might be a little bit jaded, because I've played Dead Space 1, 2, and 3, so I've seen far worse death animations than that.
It gets worse than that?
Yes. Well, you've even seen worse animations than that. You watched a little bit of Tomb Raider, the remake.
Oh my... Well, I didn't see her die. I just saw her get beat up by logs and just saw her, like, falling and getting beat up by logs and more logs in a river.
Dude,
and then I quit watching it because it was just like, okay, I see what they're going here. They need to
brutalize
put this girl in pain, so apparently
makes her
that
stronger.
The male player can feel sympathy for her, which is so fucking pathetic. It's bad writing. More bad writing. Yay, here we go.
Well, you could say that they're doing that for The Last of Us too. Because why didn't Joel have a son? Why isn't Ellie a boy?
That's what I'm saying.
Why isn't Joel a woman?
Like that's what I'm saying. Last of Us didn't escape any tropes. That's for sure. Anyway, well, what's next question?
Next question. Now that I think of it, all the animals, sans the monkeys, were unaffected by cordyceps. Horses, dogs, bunnies, deer, etc. Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, what's up with that?
I don't think anything's up with that. It just seems to be like you've got, if you're dealing with a zombie story, it affects humans, and if it affects anything else, it's going to be a fucking dog and nothing else. Deer can gallop and run around and shit, and bunnies can gallop and, well, bunnies don't fucking gallop, they fucking hop, whatever, but I don't think it's just another one of those, like, it only affects humans kind of thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that it probably took more of a Walking Dead approach to the virus, where it just doesn't affect animals. It's specific to humans, and I would say that also there's evidence in the actual cordyceps real life virus or fungus to note that each strain of cordyceps is very specific to a species. So it's not that cordyceps isn't, it can't affect other animals. It definitely does. I mean, if this game is realistic, then there has to be a strain of cordyceps that affects ants. Because in real life, there are various strains of cordyceps that affect ants. And so already right there, you have, certain animals besides humans that are affected by cordyceps. It's a fictional world, I know, based on real life, real events. But cordyceps itself, fuck it. What I'm saying is, there is evidence that cordyceps is very specific to a certain species. So this strain of cordyceps that affects humans, of course it won't affect animals, but there might be another strain of cordyceps that is affecting the animals that we don't see, or that it affects them in some way or another.
Maybe, but what's the point of even thinking about that? That wasn't the point.
Yeah,
I think you're kind of
going
over.
Yeah,
the point
we definitely are. This is going way over, but it's fun to think about this stuff, and it's just a way of saying, okay, this is how this works. I'm not saying that there's definitely a strain of cordyceps that affects animals. I'm saying that this is why this strain of cordyceps doesn't affect the animals. This is why this strain of cordyceps only affects humans. So that's it. There you go.
I guess I don't really need a. You don't need a why. I mean,
I'm not the writer,
that's their
though,
like
so
magic system.
it's not
You
like
have
canon.
like this. I know, but it's just sometimes you don't really need a why. You know how it works, and that's it.
Okay.
What's the next question?
Why is Ellie the one good character that isn't dead by the end? Is she a good character?
Why is she the one good character that isn't dead by the end? Well, I mean, what as far as playable characters go, because you have that safe haven. I'm going to call it that they go to where Joel's brother and his wife and all those people are. That's like the
Tommy
game's
wasn't...
like good. I
Mhm.
mean, and they live. I still consider Joel good. He pulled a little selfishness at the
Oh yeah.
Well, some major selfishness.
Do you think he did that more?
I still consider him a good character.
Do you think Joel did that lied more to Ellie because he wanted to protect her from the truth that she was like humanity's kind of sort of last hope?
No, I think he did it purely for himself. I hope that that's how they created his character. I hope that that's what they were leaning toward. Not that he did it for her, but that he did it strictly for himself.
Because he needed someone to protect.
Yeah.
He needed... Yeah, I think... Yeah, there is a lot point evidence in the game that sort of point to...
He grew a fondness for her, and he did not want her to go away, period.
Like his daughter did.
Exactly.
His daughter dying left a huge void, and he filled that void with Ellie at the end, and he desperately did not want her to go.
Mm.
And in order to keep her there, filling that void, he lied to her. I think that's a really nice touch. I think that's a really wonderful thing, quote-unquote wonderful, for the plot.
Yeah.
And just a way of showing, like, how just sad their situation is. Like, that's the only thing he has.
Mm.
Like, trying to find some way of filling it all.
Well, I mean, he could have just, like, been done with it and had gone back, to his brother or whatever. And, I mean, they do that anyway.
Something like that.
Or he could have just gone back to his brother and lived there instead of killing himself.
Not true.
But yeah. Do we answer the question?
I think I can answer the question by saying that Ellie isn't really the one good character.
Yeah,
I think Tommy's definitely
she wasn't the one good character. Yeah, it's really weird to hear people saying like Joel's no longer good because of what he did at the end. I still think he's good.
I think you can.
And you know what? I think a lot of people would do what he did. I'm telling you right now. I really do think a lot of people would do it. You have like someone you're attached to and you don't want them to die. That's just Yeah. That's all you can focus on. I think a lot of people would do that. It seems more realistic that people would do what Joel did compared to like everybody being bad. Mm-hmm. Because the game was just like everybody's bad, and so anyway.
Yeah. Do you think the game played particularly well? Also, are misgivings forgiven because of the strong narrative element?
No. Okay. Okay. So the first question is, did it play particularly well?
Right.
Well, it had a better story than it did gameplay, in my opinion. Watching you play was frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. Playing it was frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. What was the second question?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that the game did not play... well, you know, it's one of those things where it played well enough that the parts that didn't play well stood out especially well. The problems I had with the game and the glitches that I encountered stuck out so much because so much of the rest of the game was well done. But, you know, you just can't get past running into friggin' Ellie and getting killed for something stupid, and then running into, you know, just glitchy freaking
The glitches
stuff.
stood out not because the rest of the game was so good, but because the glitches were so fucking frequent and so annoying. What was the second part of the question?
The second part is also, are misgivings forgiven because of a strong narrative element? Misgivings probably with the gameplay.
I thought about this because, you know, when I play a game, I go for gameplay first. I'm playing a game. You know, if I want to see something with a strong story, I'm going to pick up a book or I'm going to watch a movie. But Naughty Dog focuses on story, but it focuses on story in a video game. And I don't care how good the story is if that gameplay isn't, like, there. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. So, I mean, yeah, I forgive it.
Yeah,
I forgive it, but just try harder on your next game.
Yeah. I agree.
It's not okay. I mean, I forgive you. It's not okay. Try harder next game.
What's your opinion of the game's only boss fight, David? Would you have liked more or less such encounters?
Well, we talked about this earlier. I didn't really see him as a boss fight. I just saw him as a kind of harder encounter. I could see how people classify as a boss fight, or maybe the game developers themselves are classifying as a boss fight. So let's just say that it is a boss fight, and it's the only one in the game. Am I okay with that being... Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. In fact, it didn't... Like I said, I didn't even feel that it was a boss fight. So, for me, there wasn't any in the game. And I was perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, I think I would say that I would agree. It's not that it was as much of a boss fight as just a multi-layered, you know, as we said before, an action event. I would definitely classify the first encounter with the bloater more of a boss fight in my eyes. That was more of like a Silent Hill 2 Pyramid Head first encounter type boss fight, where it's like you're just throwing so much damage at the thing and it's just not going down, and then you've got to like sort of figure out how to throw more damage at it. And that was like one of the more frantic encounters that I've had. But yeah, I think I would, you know, in terms of a boss, that would be my encounter. But as we said, it's not really, you know, after that it's more of like a introduction to the enemy type than anything. So one of my biggest problems with that boss fight, quote unquote boss fight with David, was that you weren't Joel, you were Ellie. So you were inherently limited in what you could do. And all of the stuff that you had been doing before that, collecting pills and upgrading your character and figuring out how to play as Joel, mattered very little. It basically, you playing as Ellie is like the basic Joel. And especially for that sequence, because you didn't have a gun. You didn't have anything that you could do to defend yourself, really, other than that knife. And that's it. And so it was like, when I imagine a boss fight, I imagine a fight that tests your the skills that you have acquired throughout playing the game and gives you a puzzle to solve in terms of, you know, how to accomplish this task. This fight with David had one of those, the latter. It had the puzzle that you had to solve, which was how to find David, how to approach him silently, and how to kill him. What, 3 times or 4 times?
It was 3, I think.
I
think 3 was typical magic number.
Yeah. Holy Trinity. Yeah, that's how I feel. It's not necessarily a boss fight. I think that I would, that in terms of testing you, the last part, the whole end part with you fighting the Fireflies was definitely more of a test of the abilities, and I'm really glad that they ended on that. I'm glad that they didn't just end with you like fighting Marlene in like some ridiculously overwrought like gun battle. That was a godsend. I love that, Joel just straight up shot her. Um, yeah, I'm so glad they didn't end it like that, and they ended it with like legit gameplay. And it was hard. It was tough. Those enemies were just bulletproof, fucking hard to kill. And it took so long. That reminded me of so much of Metal Gear Solid when I was playing that whole section. That same amount of tension was there. And it took so long for me to do even like the simplest thing. And it was so rewarding when you got done. So yeah, that's how I feel. Next, sure it will be discussed lots, but would love to hear if you folks found the ending as disturbing as me. Particularly the finale in the hospital, and the fact that they force you to control doing something awful/gross that you personally found morally disagreeable. I found that part extremely, affecting. In its simplicity, it was grossly affecting, is what I would say. Because I'm assuming that he's talking about when you go into the hospital room with Ellie and you basically hold up all of the doctors, and you are forced to kill at least one of them to get him out of your way. Otherwise, I didn't do this, but I think if you don't shoot at least one of them, they'll kill you. So you're basically forced to shoot one of them. And yeah, I figured that was the case, so I just shot the head doctor in the face. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly not uncalled for in terms of video games. I remember playing the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think it was, the section where near the beginning where where you take over like an airport, and if you want to, you can shoot up all the civilians. And I didn't. I played that part without shooting a single civilian, which is cool that they let you do that. But here, it's really messed up because they actually force you to shoot like a person who didn't really do anything. But then again, I played Grand Theft friggin' Auto. I'm used to running over people and doing much worse things than shooting them in the face with a friggin' gun. So,
it's kind of weird that maybe you would find it jarring because you're killing a lot of people.
yeah.
Regardless of whether they did something or not, you're still killing people. And I want to say that Ellie actually brings that up. Gosh,
yep,
she has like a hard time killing people regardless of what they're doing or whether they pose a threat or not.
Yep. There's a part at the beginning where Ellie basically asks you if a guy, if it's either you, she basically calls you out and says, look, you need to tell me if these people deserve it. Is it a situation where it's you or them? What? Just tell me. And then he basically says, yeah, it is either me or them. That's just how it is. That's how life is now. Mm-hmm. And get used to it. So, yeah. And yeah, they called that out. And yeah, it quite literally is her or them and in that scene. So, and just the simple act of doing something very simple that you have done, as you pointed this out, you have done this for a long time in the game. You have pointed your gun at people and shot them, or done worse things like shiv them in the neck or strangle them, which is ridiculous. This game puts a lot of emphasis on the sheer brutality of the acts that you're committing against other human beings. And like, especially the strangling, it was a little bit jarring at first, but I eventually got used to it, which is pretty disturbing. But no,
I think that's the point.
I think yeah. I mean, the whole idea that the violence
so
is
that by the time you actually kill good people, it's at the end, and people like me are just like, well, you've already killed like a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
So what's it to you now if you kill 3 people who may or may not have done any? I mean, we don't really know what the surgeons have previously done. We don't know what Marlene's done.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me. I mean, it was really focus on what's the word? I want to say desensitization.
Yeah.
I think that's why they had that there, and I could be wrong.
Now, here's a question I had. You know how Ellie got knocked off into the water and drowned?
Mm-hmm.
And then Joel picks her up, basically rescues her, and is performing like CPR on her. And then the other dude comes down and hits you with the butt of your gun after you're trying to save her, and you get knocked unconscious. And then you wake up in the Firefly building with Marlene standing over you, and she's like, "Yeah, we're prepping Ellie for surgery, so don't fucking kill anyone. I really hope you don't. This is for the best, of humanity's best chance we got. Please don't fuck it up because you're selfish." And then he shoots a guy in the face, or whatever he does, and slits his throat. I forget exactly what. Something gratuitous, horrific. Why didn't Marlene just tell Joel that Ellie's drowned, that she's dead?
Maybe because she thought that telling the truth was the best policy because he probably wouldn't have believed it.
Or he would need to see evidence of it.
Yeah.
But then how would Joel be able to tell the difference between a dead person and a person who is knocked unconscious? I guess heartbeat.
Well, I mean,
that's a stupid question. I guess what I should say is, how can he tell whether someone is brain dead? Because Marlene could have just said, "Oh, she's brain dead. We didn't wake her up in time. She's still got a pulse, but she's got no brain activity." They could have faked that.
I don't know. I mean, either way, I think maybe that's the point. I feel like either way, Joel would have, and this is kind of overstretching it because, this is a fictional character and I don't really know what Joel would have done. But yeah. I think Joel would have needed to see proof, needed to see Ellie, whatever, and he might as well just tell him the truth and be like, "Look, we really need you to not fuck with this. Can you please don't do anything stupid?"
And I like that they went that route more, because that's she's a quote unquote bad guy, she's a quote unquote antagonist. So when she's being upfront with you and telling you the truth and being like, "Look, this is how it is. This is what's going on. Please don't fuck with this. Please leave. See you." Mm-hmm. That's a more noble thing for an antagonist to do. And because of that, it's interesting. It's interesting. So the characters are interesting, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, next question. How would you guys feel about DLC telling the story of how Joel and Tommy had a falling out?
I'm not really interested, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay. How about DLC from the Firefly/Marlene's perspective? How about other characters like Bill, Henry and Sam, or David's struggles?
Well, I mean, Marlene mentioned that she lost half her dues traveling from the old town they were in. I can't remember, was it Boston or something? To the new town, which was in Colorado. Did I just pull that out of my ass?
I think you did. I don't know. Maybe.
I can't remember the towns that they traveled to.
I have a shit memory.
So it seems like we would just be watching half of Marlene's men die, which doesn't really seem interesting.
That, and you already know what's going to happen.
Was the other question, or was a DLC about Bill and his dude?
Yeah.
That would take away from, for me anyway, that would take away from, I just don't see, I wouldn't be interested. I'd be way more interested in, giraffes. Not the fucking sad story between, Bill and his dude. It was interesting because it was interesting because of what they left out.
Yeah.
I guess. And so if they make a DLC out of it, it's oh, well.
Yeah, it sort of lets your brain sort of come up with cool concepts with things that could have happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I don't necessarily want the connecting dots from point A and point B. I find a lot of that stuff sort of rote, I guess, because we already know what happens. Mm-hmm. It would be interesting if they did it, and I would definitely play it, but I don't know if it would be particularly interesting. I think I would much rather see, here's another question. Kind of curious about how Tess and Joel ended up working side by side. Sounds like they had been doing it for quite a bit of time. And yeah, I mean, I would probably like to see more of that, more of Tess.
That would be
playable as Tess.
That would be nice too. It'd be a nice change. I think that would be interesting. much more interesting than the other.
Yeah, because they're sort of, renowned as badasses in that little community of theirs, and it would be nice to know why. Like, that's a connecting dot that I'd like to know about. And that can go multiple ways because it's sort of open-ended. Whereas, you have all the other ones like with, Henry and Bill, and it's like, well, we already know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
We already know how their characters are. It would be nice to know how they were. But, anyways. So, yeah, I think that answers 2 questions. Do you guys hate me for giving The Last of Us a 7.5 out of 10? Yes or no?
No, I mean, you've got an opinion on a game. Oh no, it might not match mine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I guess I'm curious, I want to know why. Not that I disagree, or not that I don't feel like he gave it a wrong score, but I just want to know, like, what he didn't like about it. Because, like I said, I mean, part of me is a little jaded, and think that's thanks to MMOs, but because a lot of them fucking suck dick.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to play a game and then I'm done. I don't read up on it. I'm done.
I'm the complete opposite. I get done with the game and then I read the wiki.
That's the thing. I used to be really into games so much that I kind of felt absorbed into them, and I would always like avoid beating them. Because it was like, the game's over, now my story's over. Mm-hmm. It sounds a little corny, but I mean, I was really into it, and now I'm the complete opposite. It's like, now I can beat a game and then, like, be done with it. With that said, I remember Uncharted 3 leaving me with more of a, like, I didn't want it to end. And in The Last of Us, I was ready for the ending, to be honest. I guess I would need to read I'm curious to read his article to see, like why, but I mean, I don't care. I don't care at all.
Yeah.
And if people hate you on it, tell them to suck your dick.
Nice. Okay. Do you think The Last of Us could have used better puzzles instead of the whole ladder, pallet, wooden plank thing they had going?
No, because the puzzles are fucking overdone, dude.
What kind of puzzles would you put in there? It's interesting thinking of the kinds of puzzles that you could come up with. Because, the whole idea with the post-apocalyptic thing and, like, generators going offline. And they had so many fucking sewers in this game.
They had so many fucking generators.
Yeah, generators and, tropey shit. It would have been interesting to have something with a little bit more finesse added to it. Because what if, like, Bill had, like, a friggin', instead of just he stringed up a bunch of, stuff. Maybe he had a puzzle that he made so that, not everyone can get past it. But that's
not finesse. We see that time and time and time again in these fucking horror games. You got these little stupid... You gotta, like, move these little pegs a certain way, or fucking, like, fill out this fucking application, or do some trig to get a fucking key. Nah, it's a little bit too fucking corny. It's a little too old. I've been playing that type of game since I'm pretty fucking old. And those puzzle games have lasted a long time in my as long as I've been playing. So I thought the raft shit was nice. It was so stupid I didn't really consider it a puzzle. I considered that game to have 0 puzzles, which I fucking loved.
Yeah, it definitely lent more of a quick playthrough of it. It didn't really hang up too much.
Yeah.
And those types of puzzles were really nice with sort of that helped the flow. I'm just surprised that Bill's sort of fortress of solitude wasn't protected by a CAPTCHA.
Nice. They got those ones now where you had to, like, watch the ad and then, like, answer a question. Wow, fuck that.
Fuck that. And the Kinect's gonna do shit like that. Like, look at the TV to skip this ad. Make a M sign with your fingers in order to skip this ad.
Can you imagine when, like, TVs start doing that? You have to have, like, not only are you forced to watch the commercial to begin with, but now they're going to be interactive and, like, and then they have to be interactive, and that's the thing. It's one thing when and we're totally digressing, but I gotta finish this because it's really pissing me off. It's one thing when you want to have an ad be interactive, but it's another thing when you force that interaction on that person so that they can continue watching that entertainment. That is fucked up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I may have missed it, but what happened to Ish, the person from the sewer group? I read all of that. That was definitely one of the cooler things. Mm-hmm. When I came across that room with all of those the killed kids they were trapped in that room. That was awful. That was it was one of those nice moments that you expect from a game. I sort of liken it to in Red Dead Redemption when you're going across the bridge for the first time to the southern part of the map and the music starts playing, and that's just like such a lovely little moment. And The Last of Us definitely has some of those lovely types of moments, especially the giraffe scene, which sadly was ruined by not only people on my Twitter feed, but also fucking IGN in one of their goddamn videos. It was a rewind theater for the new Sony spot where it shows all of the things. It's just an onslaught of references to their games, like Killzone, and I think it had some Jak and Daxter, the Diablo 3 that's coming to the consoles. They had just like tons of stuff. And in the background, there was a giraffe. And for their rewind theater, they were like, "Oh, that's a spoiler for a really awesome event in a game that we won't tell you about. But definitely that right there is from The Last of Us." And I was just like, "Fuck!
What?
Fuck!
I don't even understand why you even still go to that fucking site.
I don't. It's not. I
You're bored.
I really need to stop. Just I like laughing at awful shit, so that's probably why. But yeah, I should probably find a new gaming news site to use. But what was the question? Oh yeah, Ish. I really liked that moment in a sort of. I really appreciate that moment. It was sad. It was affecting. It was horrible. But it was on the same level of affectedness. It affected me in a similar way that that moment for Red Dead Redemption and the giraffe scene affected me. It was like one of those things that you just stumble across. You weren't expecting it, and it just happens, and it's chock full of story and interesting elements. And it's just like, it affects you, and you think about it for well after you finish the game. And I really appreciated I appreciated it. I didn't like it. I appreciated it. But Ish, I don't really know what happened to him. I think he got out. I want to say he got out. I know that
I could have sworn he was in the same room with the children.
Oh no, that was I think that was his partner who brought all those kids in there. I'm pretty sure that was his partner. Ish, I don't know. We can actually look up on the wiki what happened to him. Yep, here it is. And this is on the wiki. There are no more notes regarding Ish beyond the note in the suburbs detailing his escape from the sewers with Susan and several children. It is likely that he perished before the events of the game, though there is the possibility that he and Susan managed to survive. So it is open to that. It's possible that, I'm taking this wiki for its word, but if, memory serves, then he was not the dude who was dead with all of those kids. It was his partner. There was Ish and then there was another dude. And I remember because there was a children's drawing and it showed Ish and another guy. And that other guy was the guy who killed himself and the kids and wrote that horrible note that they didn't suffer.
They didn't suffer.
Yeah, that's horrible. But anyway,
I assumed it was Ish, to be quite honest, and I thought I don't know. I thought it was nice, even though he died. It was like a quick here's a little mini story. It was like a short story in a big story in a novel maybe.
Yeah,
it was nice.
I liked it. I appreciated it.
Yeah. Next question.
And I liked Ish. It was funny. Please, if you find my skeleton, please don't step on my skull. I love that. I love that little line. I love the dark humor that he brought. It was fun. It was a nice change of pace to what you had encountered before, with all the darkness of Tess dying and everything being so goddamn grim all the fucking time. It was a little glimmer of hope, but then when you walked in there, it's like no one's there, and it's like, shit, what happened here? And then you gradually find out that of all those events, and it was nice. It was a really nice way of telling that story, and I enjoyed it immensely. Next question. Is it or is it not total bullshit that clickers are insta-killers? No. It is not bullshit in certain contexts. You're talking to a person who the very first thing they got from the pills, the very first upgrade, was the ability to get out of that clicker instant kill. And the very next ability they got was the upgrade from that, which was to, beyond that rather, that was to not waste shivs or like have increased durability on shivs where you can use one shiv multiple times or something like that.
Yeah, by the time you actually got that second upgrade, you actually you were hardly even shivving, and then prior to that, like the game was glitchy and
oh yeah, I wasn't.
You couldn't even use your opportunity to get out of that, so you ended up dying anyway.
There were certain times when it totally like didn't work. It blew up in my face. But there was one time that I definitely remember. It sticks out like a sore fucking thumb, where I got attacked by 3 or 4 clickers at the same time. And I shivved my way out of every single one of them. I cleared an entire room of clickers by just making a noise on accident and having them jump me. And I just shivved. And everything was dead. So I was like, oh, cool. Literally, it was like attack, shiv, kill, attack, shiv, kill, attack, shiv, kill. So it was great. I remember that like it was friggin' yesterday. I laughed so hard when that happened because it was just like, wow, clickers don't pose a fucking threat. I think it's good for establishing the dire circumstances. I think it's good for establishing how quickly you can die in a combat situation, and I think it's good for establishing that fear, that healthy amount of fear that you would have going into a combat situation.
Yeah.
I think it's good all around. I think it was handled well. I think you can really get away from those clickers relatively easily and quickly. I didn't really have a problem. Certainly after I got the upgrade and after I figured out how to handle clickers, I didn't really have a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's bullshit. I agree with you. What I do think is bullshit is if you do die where they restart you half the time. It's really stupid or really inconvenient.
Yes.
So, I think that having something that could, like, one shot kill you is okay, but don't stick the player in a bad situation where they have to immediately, like, restart. Or, I guess I should say, don't stick the player into a situation, you get what I'm saying? Like, they restarted you, like, already in a bad position.
Yeah.
You couldn't give yourself a chance to, like, think about what you did wrong. You had to, like, react immediately.
Yep.
That's stupid as fuck. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Yes. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
What if someone cannibalized the zombie? Would they catch cordyceps, do you think? Pound dumb questions.
Oh, okay, dumb questions. Because I was about to ask, why the fuck would you be cutting up a zombie?
Well, there was that part when David was about to cut up Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And she mentioned that she was bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they freaked out.
Yeah. So they would not want to eat her.
Right. So why don't they want to eat her?
I think they're assuming that if they do, they're going to get it.
I think that's a healthy assumption to make. All right, so that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else to talk about, can you?
No, I can't.
All right, that was fun. I hope you guys had fun. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I had fun. I did. Yeah, my ass hurts, but I'm good.
Okay, let's go and make sure your ass does not hurt anymore. This is Refmo.
Yeah.
YouTube channel, This is Refmo.
Don't
Twitter,
go.
This is Refmo.
I don't really tweet either. I'm pretty fucking boring, so there's no point of even checking me out.
Okay, don't check her out. Her name is This is Refmo, but don't check her out.
But don't check me out, because it's not worth checking out.
And this is Bob. I'm on Twitter. I forget my Twitter handle.
It's
I'm on
twitter.com/tortoiseontour.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And his YouTube channel is youtube.com/she sells seashells.
No.
Seashells.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Woo! Oh my gosh, when you created that channel and you were like, here, go to my YouTube channel, look at my video, and this is like the days of like extreme rice and stuff. I remember like trying to type that in and like wanting to shoot myself in the face.
I get complaints about it constantly, so you are not the only one. So, but it's either that or YouTube wants me to use my fucking real name. That shit's scary.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Fuck that. Anyways, all right. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I hope you guys, I guess, had fun listening to us talk about The Last of Us.
I hope we answered all your questions. All right.
Bye.
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 Bye. Good night.
See ya. Hey, it's not... We don't know if it's night for them.
Whatever. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good night.